Here's your Guelph real estate market update for Guelph today for September 2025. From Beth and Ryan Waller, Guelph Realtors.
Welcome back to In the House with Beth and Ryan. I'm Beth, and this is Ryan.
Today, we are going to talk about the month of September in Guelph real estate. It's usually a pickup month. Usually does better than the remaining months after July. There's usually a seasonal bump between Labor Day and Thanksgiving. So we're going to talk about what happened. And there are a few things, not only within the market, but also just other economic forces.
Okay.
that happened during the month that we'll talk about as well. What we're going to talk about today is also on our website. So we do a bi-weekly version of this that updates on the Guelph real estate market on our website, which we'll link below this video. And we also, or I, do a podcast version of this as well. So we have all the bases covered with written format, video, and audio.
Yeah.
No excuses. Okay, so September sales. What type of market are we in?
It's a balanced market. It's maybe almost a little bit of a buyer's market. Typically in a balanced market, we're seeing about 5 sales per day.
Yeah, about that. It works out to be about it's about 5 sales per day. So a balanced market would be in months of inventory. It would be between 2 to 6.
Right.
So we're at about 5 months-ish inventory in Guelph now. And so it's moving towards a
buyer's market,
full-on buyer's market, but it's definitely not a seller's market. So seller's market means that sellers control the prices and sellers can hold out a little bit longer for a higher price because there's more demand for a house than there is supply. In a buyer's market, it's the opposite, where there are far more houses and less buyers. So sellers have to negotiate a lot more. Buyers are in control. So
and
we're on the verge of that.
One of the challenges that we're seeing these days is that as we move closer to a buyer's market, the last time that we were in kind of an extreme market here, it was a seller's market. And it's been like a slow and steady swing. And so sometimes that's a hard change to stomach, well, particularly if you're a seller.
Yeah.
To go from one extreme back through to the other.
So we're going to talk about the number of houses that have sold in September this year, which is the same as it was last year. Yeah, it's the same as last year. So there's really no change in the number of houses that have sold, but the interesting thing is that the average price has declined. So it's declined about, when the numbers all roll in totality, somewhere between 3 and 4% decline versus the average price last year.
Is that just for freehold houses we're talking?
No, that's
including condos.
That is in totality. That is in totality. So both of them actually, I think both segments have, the detached segment actually declined in average price, but the condo segment, oddly enough, increased in average price since last month. So let's get into a few details here. We have them open. In September, there were 130 sales, and 103 of them were in the detached segment, and the remaining 27 were in the condo segment. And just to touch on that for a second, there were only 27 condo sales, and there are 30 days in September. So there was less than 1 a day that sold. So that alone for that segment, maybe we can start with that. That segment alone, it's struggled.
These condos have been struggling. Even when we saw things going crazy 3-4 years ago, condos weren't going as crazy. They weren't sought after the same way as freehold or detached houses were.
Yeah.
And now they're continuing to struggle. People just see more value in a freehold property these days.
Yeah, and there is ample supply of condos, and they seem to be increasing in the numbers available. So of the 27 that sold, the low price was $325,000 in the West End, and the high, there were 2 of them that sold in the South End.
I think over $1 million, I think.
Yeah, I think there were penthouses in South Guelph that sold at $1,050,000.
Yeah.
Average price of about $620,000, and they are selling at about 97% of the last price. So if someone's asking $1 million, 970 or 97% is about what they're selling at. So there is room to negotiate.
Yeah. So if you're looking for a condo, like if that's what you're looking for, this is an excellent time to buy a condo.
Yeah. And will it get better? I think yes.
Yeah.
I think it's, if you're looking to buy a condo, you might get a better deal in a couple of months. Because at this point, the trend seems to be that every month more and more of them show up.
Yeah, and they're not selling as quickly as they're being listed. So the inventory is building.
Yeah.
Which means prices will come down likely.
Yeah. And only of the 27 that sold, only one of them sold over the asking price. 5 sold at the asking price, and the remainder, there'll be 21 of them, sold under the asking price, and that is 77%. So,
and then, like when you hear that stat, something that's important to keep in mind is that it depending on where a condo or a property is listed, obviously that has a huge impact on the percent that it ends up selling for. So if somebody's
the price, you mean?
Yeah, that's what I meant. So if somebody's listing at a price that would be more appropriate 2 years ago, you're never going to sell at 100% of your asking price.
Right.
So that's something that you have to kind of keep in mind. And as a segment continues to kind of decline, like condos are, it is pretty typical to have the listing price kind of lagging behind reality.
Yeah.
So it makes
that's a
sense
good
that
point.
they would be selling a little bit below what the list price is.
Right, because we're still trying to find a common area where buyers will pay what the sellers are asking. And so far, what that means is that 3/4 of the buyers still see that they can negotiate the prices down further, and sellers still are trying to find what that market level is. So there is, as I mentioned, a glut in this segment. We have 245 condos on the market. Less than 1 are selling per day, and the number of condos is going up. We were at 235 last month. So the numbers of them are rising, and the sales are going down. So it's not looking good for this segment. If you are shopping to buy, it is a great time. Could get better. If you're selling, you
really need to do what you can to make your property stand out.
Yeah.
Because the thing in a market like this that we've been talking about recently and noticed with our own business in the last few weeks is that there still are properties, whether it's a condo or a freehold property, that are selling despite what's happening in the market. And some things are even selling relatively quickly. And oftentimes the reason that's happening is because there's something unique about that property. Maybe it's in a fabulous location. Maybe it just has a great design aesthetic inside, some excellent staging that was done. Maybe it's that the property is completely turnkey. You've touched up every piece of chipped paint on your baseboards and everything is just looking pristine. But you really, as a seller, do need to make sure that there's something about your property to make it stand out in the sea of competition.
Yeah, it's a good point. And those are the ones that are moving. The ones that have accepted the reality of pricing, the ones that look better than the others. Yeah. They are the ones that are moving. If you have more time, if you want to be at a higher price to see if there is a buyer there, just be prepared to be on the market for longer. Probably close to 60 days or so is what we're looking at. But detached segment, there were 103 houses that sold here. 360,000 was the low, and that was one in on Arthur Street in the General Hospital neighborhood that needed some work. That's a good price, though.
Yeah. Is that the one that was backing on the river?
No, it was
okay.
No, but it was, 360,000 for a detached.
Yeah, we haven't seen a price like that in a while, I don't think.
Yep. The high was 1.8 million in Old University, and the overall average was 827,000, which is down a fair bit, actually, since July and August. So I think in July it was over 900. We did notice a significant drop in average price. Yeah. Sale price. Now,
which makes sense as the market continues to move a little bit more in the direction of a buyer's market and inventory climbs, prices come down. It's what happens.
Yep, that's what happens. 12 of the 103 or 12% sold over the asking, 10 sold at the asking, and the remaining 81 or 78% sold under the asking price. It was a weak month. For the detached segment for sure. If you're a buyer, of course, you're loving it because it is getting to be better prices for you out there in the market. Will it get better? Maybe. As you get into October, November, and December, activity slows down, and some sellers are deciding to take their house off the market because they just aren't getting what they want.
Maybe come back in the spring. See if things turn around.
But the danger of that is that if so many people do that, we've now got a glut of inventory in the spring. All those people who took their house off the market and then come back, as well as all the people who had just planned to sell, it could be a glut of inventory in the spring of next year. But
typically, we still do see a good amount of activity through October, so it will be interesting to see what happens this year. Like Ryan mentioned, September is usually the busiest of the fall months, but typically into October, up until, I guess, Halloween, like at the end of the month, we still normally see a decent amount of activity. So it's still considered a pretty good time to sell. It's not usually until November that things start to slow down, but given what we are seeing so far this season, and as well as what we saw last year, it's not looking too hopeful in terms of things really picking up in October. It's probably going to be more of the same.
And in September, there was an interest rate decrease. 0.25 basis points. Some economists are talking about another one in October and maybe another one in the spring. So the rates are coming down, but the thing with that is that it's usually a lagging indicator. By the time their actual decrease happens, most people already know about it. Fixed rates are already set with the change. Most mortgage brokers are already talking to their clients about a rate decrease. So it's not, you don't get this rush of people just going out immediately following a rate announcement to buy houses. It just doesn't quite work that way. So anybody who's banking on a 0.25% decrease to jolt the market into some sort of great thing for sellers to get higher prices, it probably won't. It probably won't happen. The rates are coming down because of other economic forces. Such as higher unemployment or higher inflation and that sort of thing. So, or sorry, lower. Is it lower? It would be lower inflation.
Inflation.
It would be lower inflation. Anyways, so with that being said, do you have anything else you want to add?
No, I think that we covered most of the current events in the market.
And I think we both think that the remainder of the year is going to be very similar to now and probably even a little slower.
I think like my parting words would be, if you're a buyer, waiting for the right property for you is really the thing to do. And it's kind of tricky to play the market in that sense. So if a property comes up and it's appealing to you, reacting to that and working with the conditions and just being aware of what kind of power you do have, and kind of playing that to your best advantage is really important. And if you're a seller, it's a similar thing. Make sure that you are aware of the market conditions and really do your best to make sure that your house stands out. Get some staging done, get some amazing photos taken, and just do what you can to make your property stand out.
It'll be the one that moves in a slower market. And then just as a reminder, 130 houses sold in September. It's not like there isn't anything moving. There's a lot of things moving. It's just they take a little bit longer. They tend to sell for a little bit less. And the ones that appear better online and in person are the ones that move quicker. So those are my parting words. As always, you can find us on our website at bethandryan.ca. And we'll see you next month.